All right, welcome to week 3 of the class. Hope all is well. We're all sort of still in there and charging strong. We're going to do 2 chapters today in this particular discussion, chapters 5 and 6. And then there won't be a separate chapter discussion for chapter 6 because they really start to go together. And I want you to start thinking about the sort of the project as we head into the halfway point of this semester. And chapter 6 is where we start to talk about that project in a little more detail. At least the textbook does. We've been talking about it all along. Chapter 5, Design, Review, and Evaluation, is a very short chapter, relatively quick. It starts to talk about the design process. Now, we've talked about the design process. Chapter 1 talked about the design process. As a matter of fact, Figure 112 shows the design process and some of the design components that have to be part of a design process. But as engineers, we understand what the design process is, and this textbook has been talking about sort of the 6 steps in a system process. All through the chapter. 1, conceptual design. 2, preliminary design. 3, detailed design and development. 4, production and construction. 5, operational use and support. And of course, 6, retirement or dissolution of the system and its components. I can't stress how important it is to be reviewing the design early in the program. You don't want to get to the point where you're building something and somebody says, well, what about X? What about Y? Why didn't we think of that? Who's watching this show? We're going to invest money. We're going to invest time. We've got to do this right. We've got to make sure that all the players are at the table at the right time and reviewing it. And that's what Chapter 5 is all about. It's the evaluation of the planning process, or of the plan as it's moving through the process. To give you an example of a meeting I was at recently where we were designing our dining hall. Beautiful building. I got included relatively late in the design process, but the building is done, has been designed. The serving trays and areas have been designed. The kitchen area is designed. The eating area is designed. The upstairs, downstairs. It's a beautiful building. If you haven't been there, you ought to come by and see it. At one point, I sat there and I said, where's the director's office, the food manager's office, the director of the thing? Oh, it's right over here. I said, so it's behind the serving counter. Yeah. Well, how does that person get in front of the serving counter? I said, if they want to come in and the president of the university walks in, sits down and has lunch, the individual who is responsible for the meals is sitting in his office, sees that the president come in, how does he get there? And it turns out that they had blocked him in, so that the only way to get from the back side of the kitchen area to the front side of the kitchen area was to go outside. And then come back in through the front door. Well, because they had been so engrossed in the plan, a new set of eyes saw something that they hadn't seen. And so they developed a swinging door, which allows easier access, not as easy as it should have been, in my opinion, but easier access to get from the front to the back, or from the back from the front, without disturbing the serving operation during the meals. So, these kinds of designs, or evaluations and reviews, while the design process is underway, cannot be understated how important they are. And I hope that that you can include that in your thinking as you're doing system design work. Chapter 6 is the system engineering program planning. It is probably the most important chapter, in my opinion, because it talks about the whole planning for the system, and that's what a systems engineering manager does. A great deal of this chapter is dedicated to the SEMP, the SEMP, the System Engineering Management Plan. As you already know, the System Engineering Management Plan is what you will be designing as your final project. And if you look into the next module on Moodle, you'll see that I've included a couple of resources there, as I've mentioned already, but the a NASA System Engineering Management Plan for a satellite that they had put out, and also the Federal Highway Association template for a systems engineering management plan. The textbook spells out a very nice systems engineering management plan template, which is the one that you'll be evaluated on. Is on page figure 6.5. It's a nice outline in the book, and one that you want to pay particular attention to. And then, of course, the chapter starts to define what those components are all about. I don't need to tell you again what that is, but I do need to tell you how important that is, and to really understand what that's getting to. You'll notice that figure 1 in chapter 6 is again those six those 6 steps: conceptual, preliminary, etc. And then, but it's also the same figure, or almost the same figure, that is in chapter 1, 1.25. And so those figures that you spend a little bit of time trying to understand early on in the chapter are becoming back into the book, or early on in the book are coming back in the latter chapters, becoming more involved, and hopefully they're becoming a better, you're going to have a better understanding of what they mean, how important they are, and why they exist, and what this course really is all about. You'll notice at the end of this chapter, there's not a question specifically on your project, and yet, as has been already mentioned in the Moodle site, there is a question 15 that calling it up here on my Moodle site. Excuse me. I'm sorry. There is a question. Select a system of your choice. Describe the acquisition process. Develop a detailed outline of a SEMP for the program in question. That's really what you're going to have to do. But I'd also spend some time looking at question 15, and maybe you want to introduce that as part of your project. Question 15 says, how can political, social, society, cultural, and economic factors influence the supplier selection process? And so you may want to include that as part of your plan. I hope we recognize that one of the foundation and compass points of the California Maritime Academy is global awareness. And in your business, clearly, whatever that business is, you're dealing with global influences, societal influences, economic, environmental. And so, start to think about these things in a global context. Start to think about how they affect your project and any other project that you're going to be working on in your future. So that's all I'm going to do to introduce these 2 chapters. So we've got the week to read chapter 5 and 6. And really start working on the plan, getting a good feel for what that plan has to look like. Next week we'll be talking chapter 7 and 8, which is becomes an evaluation essentially of the plan, a way to evaluate the plan and look at the process and sort of wrap up the course. Again, week 5 we'll be designing our project. Week 6 delivering it and having a final exam. So good luck, get an early start, and we'll be talking to you soon.